the Rangers Journal now.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Rangers Journal. I'm your host Scotty and we're here for this week's edition of the Rangers News, and to help me dissect which has been another action-packed week of Rangers training clips and English transfer links, we've got Billy to help. Billy, how you doing, mate?
Good, yeah. Head spinning with the names flying in every day, so it's like it's a full-time job keeping up on it. But yeah, looking forward to talking about it.
Good stuff. Jack, how you doing, pal?
Yeah, all good. Just the same. Try to keep up with everything. Seems to be at least 2 or 3 new links every day at the moment.
I think you've done quite a few articles on your site this week, didn't you? You want to get a wee plug, Jack?
Yeah, so I do some writing for InsideIbrooks.com. It's just been myself the last month or so, but we've got some new guys coming on, just doing the onboarding stuff just now. So have a few new voices coming through there soon. So yeah.
Oh, good stuff, mate. Good stuff. Thank you to Donald Rice, who's just became a YouTube member. Hello, everybody in the comments. Thank you for joining us. If you're new, welcome. Please like and subscribe the video. So let's pick apart the elephant in the room first, then, gentlemen. Billy, I'll come to you first on Gide Gassama. Told you I was going to butcher that name. Seen pictures of him online in Rangers kit. It's apparently a done deal. Various news outlets this morning on Twitter are telling us it's not a done deal. That the Sheffield Wednesday owner's been a bit of a twat about the deal now. What's your thoughts on the whole thing?
I mean, it's one I'd really like to see us get across the line. It would be a bit of a sort of a egg in the face situation if we've had him in the training gear and this doesn't get across the line now. We've only got one historical reference to like an old firm player turning up in one strip and then not playing for that club, and we're still laughing about that like 30 years later. So I'm hoping it's just a case of like maybe we're delaying the announcement. But like you say, the Sheffield Wednesday owner, that's a wee bit of a worry because that's an unknown factor, the sort of chaos variable, if you like. What I've seen of Gassama, I'd like to get him in because, like, okay, the clips are always good on YouTube, but in a lot of ways, like, it kind of reminds me of something we've been missing. When I've looked at the clips, I'm getting sort of like peak Ryan Kent vibes, someone that can, in a tight space, can be a wee bit tricky. In fact, looks even trickier maybe than Kent, but can then drive you up the field 50, 60, 70 yards in a matter of seconds. And actually watching those clips really drives home how much we've missed that the last couple of years when, okay, well, we've had Cherny, but he's not quite that player. And we've really missed someone that can threaten the opposition. And actually, unlike someone like Matondo, who's like a space merchant, wants to kind of knock it in behind and sprint, this is someone that can actually make their own opportunities, their own space, and then really drive and take the team up the field, which I think in Scotland would be good, but in Europe in particular, I think back to like Kent in that run to the Europa League final. And when I see Gassama doing stuff like that, I try not to get too excited at these YouTube clips, but I've got to be honest, the stuff I've seen of him, I would like to see that get across the deal, and I hope it is either just delaying the announcement a wee bit or maybe some small last minute detail that we can get ironed out, because it wouldn't be good to have him train and get us all excited and then pull the rug.
No, definitely not, mate. Definitely not. For me, it does look exciting. It was one of the ones I want to pick your thoughts on for strategy in the market a wee bit later in the pod. But he's one of the ones that from the Championship in England, I didn't mind. It looks a decent enough player. He's got that resale value. It looks as if we could get him at a good fee. Jack, what's your thoughts on the whole deal and the player himself?
Yeah, so I don't know much about the Sheffield Wednesday situation, but I've seen a lot of comments online from their fans, and this owner seems to be an absolute pain in the backside. So hopefully he's not going to hold things up too badly here. The only other thing I can remember kind of similar is if right before we went into administration all those years ago, we had Daniel Kuzan turning up in training gear, and then we weren't actually able to sign him, and Ali had to send him on his way. But I mean, I'm sure we've done our research and we know this is further along. I don't see our new regime putting us in a place to get embarrassed by this if it does go south. But yeah, well, on the player himself, I mean, you don't come through that PSG academy if you don't have something about you, especially nowadays. You need to be good. You need to be good technically. I've not watched much Sheffield Wednesday, but I've seen the obligatory YouTube clips, and he looks pacey, he looks skillful, looks direct, which is all things we need. We've not really had that. We had Sima who came into his own, but even Ryan Kent the last couple of years he was here wasn't really doing that. So it's something we've missed for a while, and something I'm really excited to see back. I would like us to have that across the front line on both sides, because I feel in the past when we've had this sort of player, Kent especially, we've ended up focusing all down the one side. So I would ideally like to see it spread about, but I really do like the whole recruitment process as much as it is kind of stuck to one sort of area at the moment.
Jack, I'll stay with you. We signed Nasser Jiga on a season-long loan deal. He is the second of what looks like a big tall centre back. I think he's 6'2", 6'3". Comes in by a good calibre. Looking at his stuff from Red Star Belgrade. What's your thoughts on the signing?
Ideal, absolutely ideal. We were a bit powder puff at the back last year. You've seen in Europe and against Celtic, we can actually deal with technical teams quite well. Suter and Balogun were good with that. Even Proper had his moments last year in that sort of situation. But when it came up to the big physical SPFL strikers, we struggled. And we even seen it against Queen's Park in a championship side. We struggled. So to have these big physical guys is exactly what we need. Fernandez looks a bit more technical, but I think he's got room to develop. He still seems a bit raw. But Giga, they paid 10 million for him. He's coming up here in a year and then he'll go back to Wolves. He's here to play. He's here to start. He's here to make an impact. I'm really excited about it. And you've seen, even if you're not a regular in the Premier League, I mean, across the city, Carter Vickers was a failure at Tottenham and he's kind of strolled up here. So you get a guy like Gigan who's still got the potential to make it down there, and I think you've got a real asset in your hands.
Billy, what about you? Obviously, Jack brings up a good point there about us being kind of powder puff at the back last season. And do you think Rangers are really trying to address the elephant in the room in terms of the squad?
Oh, I think that room is rammed with elephants. If you're being sort of like honest, so yeah, the defensive elephant for sure. I think Jack's bang on. He looks perfect. He looks like the kind of loan that actually could work out. So he doesn't look like someone so early in his career that he's coming up here to sort of like putter about, play a bit of football, but not get injured. He looks like the kind of guy. If we're reading the profile right, he's going to come up here and thinking, like Jack said, I should stroll it here. I should excel here, and go back down with my reputation enhanced a little bit, like say maybe Sima, for example. And I like the physical profile. I like what I've seen of him. If he turns out to be as good as we're hoping, the fact that he managed to get like a head injury doing a passing drill on his first day's training is potentially the stuff of legend. I don't know if the training video is available or that, but that sounds like the kind of defender you want. So yeah, no, I'm excited to see him, and I'm expecting that to be someone who, like, okay, he might take a couple of games to settle in, but you're expecting, when you see players come up, even the likes of like Scotty Arfield, who was like a well-seasoned pro, you see these guys come up and they just look like they're from a different level. They don't look like they're projects. They don't look like they're coming to sort of like build up to something. I think this is someone, given where he's played in Belgrade derbies and the like, I would really expect this to be hopefully a mainstay.
Yep, definitely have to agree. Billy, see the Carol Rushworth link. Obviously, he is the Brighton number 2 or number 3. He's one of the goalkeepers down at Brighton. I know Rangers are looking like they're trying to bring a lot of stability in the transfer market this term. I'm trying to use my words very wisely here in terms of how I want to put this message across, but when I'm looking at some of the players who've been linked with this Carol Rushworth, I can understand Elisa Giga coming in as centre back on loan. The different players we've been linked with, I can understand Asgard coming in, Fernandez, Rothwell. I can even see the point of Giga Gassama. But goalkeeper's an important position to me, and I don't know if I want Rangers to be loaning a second or third choice Brighton goalkeeper. What's your thoughts on it? Do you not think it's becoming a wee bit ridiculous now?
I mean, like, I guess when we actually get to the end of the transfer window, that'll be because there's maybe 6 weeks to go or something just now. So I think at the end of the transfer window will be the time where we can actually say, have Rangers been fishing too much in the one pond, or should we have cast the net a wee bit further afield? But Rushworth, he is difficult to get excited about because, like you say, he's not going to be presumably a first choice. He's bounced about what he was like Swansea and Hull and Lincoln, and it's been, a loan. And like Lincoln and Swansea he played at, but like Hull last season he only played a couple of games. So difficult to get excited and difficult to feel like that, with the likes of Liam Kelly and Mason Munn, that we don't have like solid backup. So that is a wee bit of a strange one. I'd be interested, maybe the manager will tell us he's thinking in that. Maybe it's just one of those freshening things up situations, or maybe he's had a look at what we have and he thinks this guy's genuinely a wee bit of an upgrade. So it would be interesting to know why, because in the face of it, it kind of just looks like, shuffling things around, and it doesn't really feel like an upgrade in any sense. So yeah, I take what you're saying there, Scott. It's a bit of a strange one. And on that basis, it kind of would be interesting to know what Russell Martin's thinking is.
Jack, what about you? The transfer strategy. We've not signed a player out with England yet, apart from Lyle Cameron. Obviously, Oscar Cortez, the deals are already done before the new regime come in, but seen links to Abu Kamara, this goalkeeper.
Yeah,
I can understand the signing so far. What's your thinking on these guys?
I don't mind it. I don't mind it to start off with, because these deals are going to be easier to complete. The ones abroad where it's going to be. I don't know the technicalities, but it's going to take longer to sign a guy from Israel than it is going to be to sign a guy from England. But if we come to start of September and we've only signed guys from the English lower leagues, yeah, concerning. But I'm willing to be patient for now and just assume these deals are easier. We'll snap them up first and then move on to our bigger targets. In terms of the goalkeeper, I mean, we've just gave Kieran Wright a new deal. Liam Kelly's going to stay. Mason Munn's also a good prospect. So you've got 3 backups there. So if you're bringing a goalkeeper in, that suggests Butland's going to go. And if Butland's going to go, I don't see the point in bringing in a lone keeper. You're going to need to look for your new number one. Mason Munn's still going to be a few years off that. Kelly and Wright are never going to be it. So if you're letting your first choice go, I don't see the benefit in bringing in a lone backup keeper from England. I think you go out and you spend the money on a solid number one that's going to be a number one for the next 5-6 years. And if Butland's staying, then I don't really see this boy as much of an upgrade on him, and then we're overloaded on goalkeepers. So it's a strange one. Yeah, I'm not sure. At the Bruges game, I did feel that Kelly was better with the ball at his feet than Butland was. There was a few times I noticed it myself. Butland launched it long. First time Martin was all right, but then the second and third time he'd done it, I looked at the touch rate and Martin was not pleased about it. So I don't know if that's maybe switched up in his head to go, nah, I'm not having this. But yeah, Rushworth, he's a championship goalkeeper, and it's all well and good signing these prospects from the championship, but I think for your goalkeeper, you need a strong number one. It's one of the most important areas in the pitch, and I think we need to get it right.
100%. There's not one thing I disagree with there, mate. There's not one thing I disagree with there. Now, moving on to the pre-season friendly. I don't know if you've seen anything of the game. Rangers v Club Bruges. Kind of story of two halves as usual, wasn't it?
It was, and actually, I was surprised at the team we went with in the first half, but in retrospect, it was maybe smart of Russell Martin to do it that way, because he kind of gave some of the younger and more fringe players a run out in the first half, and then when things needed to step up, he actually had some of the more seasoned pros to bring on, so it was maybe better doing it that way around. I think like everyone knows, like Russell Martin said, that there's no way you'd be taking a team of this level on at this stage of the season were we not playing Panathinaikos in like 2 weeks' time. So, I mean, that still gives me the fear, because we did show improvement in the second half, but the thought of this sort of jumble of players that we've got at the minute, people who are just in the door, people who are looking at the exit door, coming up against even a medium sort of side like Panathinaikos, I'm quite worried about that, because just in terms of basic stuff like, to use the Big Phil thing, automations, knowing where you're going to be in the pitch, etc., that stuff should be split second, but it isn't to begin with when you're bedding in new players. So I thought Russell Martin did well addressing things in the second half. Like first half, like their pressing had us all over the shop, and our defence was. The fact that the guy that scored, he gets to set himself and score, and no one's challenging him. That's a worry for me. I'm actually slightly controversially. I thought the second Bruges goal was a good strike, but I didn't think it was a great goal, because we've all played in games, where like you think you're a player and you're playing with your mates, and then someone like from like 3 levels up comes in and they just run it. And most top players, I think, if you let them have a volley from 15, 16 yards out and no one's challenging them, can probably hit the target. And when I look back at that, there's just no one running at him. You would hope for like 2 bodies flying in front of him. So I really hope we get that defensive stuff sorted out ASAP. Second half was good. Yeah, it was like, a step up, and, nice to see Tav coming on and doing his captain thing, and nice to see the senior pros making a difference. But I mean, if we'd got a shellacking, I'd be worried. I don't read too much into pre-season at the best of times. And at the moment, my worry is that we're trying to microwave a dish that needs like put in the oven, and I'm not sure it's going to be ready in time for Panathinaikos. That's my big worry. So I thought it was fine. I thought the goals were good. It was nice to see us respond. It was nice to see Russell Martin can actually turn things around and tweak things and get a performance in the second half that was way better than the first half. But as data points, it's like, who knows? Like, we'll probably never see a lot of those players in a Rangers. Well, not together in a Rangers team anyway. So, it was fine. But like, I think all of us are just looking ahead to the Panathinaikos game and wondering who will be playing and will they have time to bed in.
Jack, I was at the game myself, and when I was watching it, I was like, obviously half time came and the boos rang round the Ibrox, and I was like looking in about me, and I thought, what the it's genuinely the first thing that came onto my mind, and I genuinely turned around and I looked around about me, and I was like, what he's all booing for? Right, we're at the beginning of a new takeover. We've got a new manager, a new style of play, a team full of new players. Barely any one of them players were on the park at the time. I found it shocking, and I think we really, really need to urge patience amongst the support. Like, this isn't going to be an overnight fix, especially with Russell Martin's style of play. I think we've delved deep enough into Russell Martin on this podcast since he's been appointed. And what was your thoughts on the training game? On the training game, that's how I see it. What was your thoughts on the pre-season friendly overall?
So I was there as well. I actually wasn't going to go, but my uncle's in charge of our family credit card thing, and he's like, "Oh, I bought the tickets." I'm like, "Oh, right, suppose I'm going then." So went along. First half, I'm sitting there, I'm like, friendlies every year, they're a bit of a nothing occasion. You're always excited to see new players, but yeah, we're 2 down. I'm like that, right? It is what it is. We're more looking for a style of play than a result. Yeah. But you could start to see it after the second goal. He must have changed a few things. We started to look a bit on top. Things were getting better towards the end of the first half. And then there was a booze, and I had to laugh a bit when I heard it. I understand it from some fans. It's been a good few years. We've just had frustration and disappointment. I know it's a pre-season friendly, but all that's still coming out because you've had all this hype of the new year in, and you see your team down. And if you don't sit down and think about it, that's probably a split-second reaction. But what it will give is Russell Martin, he'll know, right, I need to get this right and get it right quick, or they're going to be on my back. It'll be under no illusions now how quickly he needs to get things working. Now, Panathinaikos is coming around quickly. I do believe we'll have some behind closed doors games. I know we'll definitely have some down at St George's. I'm led to believe we'll be playing Neil Lennon and Fairmont when they come back up, as they'll have a free fixture for the League Cup. So we'll see if that does come to pass. But we'll definitely play some some games to get the shape together. But Panathinaikos is coming early, but it's also coming early for them. It's just about whether we can get through this one. Really, for me, I don't really care if it's free flowing football, 4-0 over 2 legs. If we can get through this and get ourselves ready when it comes to the next round, I'll be more than happy. Obviously, seen last year with Kiev, we weren't ready, but I do feel like the rebuild this year is moving at a better pace. It is a real rebuild. We are getting things done, so I'm more confident, but at the same time, I take Billy's point that it is coming quickly and we might not fully be there, but I do hope and believe we'll have enough about us to get through this first round and then see where we are come the next one.
Hopefully, mate. Hopefully. Moving on, we'll talk about some of the outs and potential returns. Billy, I want to come to you and get your thoughts on this one. Yanis Hadji, rumoured to have been offered back to the club on reduced terms. Is it a yes or a no? What's your thinking on it? It's a big no for me.
I should have known Yanis Hadji was back in the mix when we got the training gear released this morning. It's got those sleeveless tops that seem to be his favourite thing to wear because he likes to show off his guns. Immediately went, that's the Yanis Hadji top. I like Yanis Hadji as a guy. I quite like him as a player. He lacks the pace and the zip to be a top level player. He's got a fantastic media machine. His dad does great work for him. Like the Romanian press and the Romanian manager do great work in terms of keeping his profile up. But the reality is he's been available for a couple of years now and nobody's snapping him up. And a lot of the time he's getting interest based on being a good player with a great name rather than the full package. So for me, no, it's a hard no. He contributes what he contributes, but I don't think he's fast enough. I don't think he's got a place in this team going forward. And I think it would just be a retrograde step. And I say that as someone who, I mean, you can't not like Yanis Hadji. It's like Ibrox baby and that Braga game, and his highlight reel's got some really nice moments in it. The injuries haven't helped. He wasn't like lightning before it. He's got a footballing brain. It's just a pity he doesn't have the full package. But if he did, he wouldn't be in Scotland. So I think it says everything that he's getting offered back to us. That sounds like, because like I was listening to some coverage that was saying basically, and this is where I started to call a bit BS on it, because like one of his either PR or national manager was saying, oh, he's had an offer from a massive club. And it's like, well, who? If it's a massive club, why isn't he going there? If it's a massive club, why aren't you telling us, oh, it's like a huge name? And to me, I think it's a PR operation. I hope he gets a good move. I hope he goes on and has a solid career, likeable guy, good pro, but no, it would be a retrograde step for Rangers, absolutely.
For me, there's just always too much. See, like guys like him and Todd Cantwell, there's just too much drama that comes with them in terms of the outside noises. Like, with Yanis Hadji, it's his dad and it's his agents. With Todd Cantwell, it was Instagram and TikTok. But there's just too much drama attached. And that's all right if they've got ability back up in the park, but I really, really don't think. I think we've moved on for Yanis Hadji now. I think he's...
Alfie was worth the drama. But Yanis...
Alfie was, exactly. Alfie was tremendous. He was tremendous. Jack, the other link is Cyril Dessers. There's been other reports that the AEK guy on Twitter saying it's a done deal, and there's another Greek journalist that's come out and says that AEK's agreed a fee now. I put in the chats last night that I hadn't seen Dessers in any training videos. So have you heard anything about what potentially is happening with Cyril? What's your opinion on it? Where do you think we're at with him?
Well, he was at a game at Bruges. You've seen him signing autographs. I'm not sure what Martin said. He said something. It was he came back from international with a knock. Is that right? So that could be the usual. Oh, he's injured. That's why he's not coming as a move and a go. I think we'll come to an agreement. I think it's going to be one of these ones that drags on. But clearly, he's still their target if they're still going over it. I think we'll probably meet somewhere in the middle. Was it they're offering 3.5? We're wanting 5. We'll probably meet maybe 4.5. it'll probably just drag on. I think Cyril needs to go for us to get that new number one striker in. Obviously, there's a whole Egerman saga. I think it's separate, but I think you get Dessers to go at his age. You take the money. He's been a good player. He has his moments, but his stats are really good. The eye test is something different, of course, but at his age, despite the goals, you take that money and you reinvest it. It's the right thing to do, and I think we will do it this summer. Whether it happens or not, we'll need to see. But yeah, that's it. I think that will happen, but you know what it's like in that sort of area of Europe. They'll report on absolutely everything. Speaking of which, the Hadji one, that actually was me. I kind of, it's the headline gets taken out of my hands on Inside Ibrox, so it made it kind of sound like we were looking to re-sign him, whereas it's his agent has reached out and goes, "Oh, remember that contract we vaguely discussed in January or February? Would that still be on the table?" But yeah, there was talk that he would come and train to keep his fitness up, but I think that just opens a whole new can of worms for us. And I believe it was Legia Warsaw is that huge name he was talking about, which I think is a bit of overhyping. They are a big team, but I wouldn't call them a huge name. But yeah, I don't think Hadji will come back, and Dessers, I think he will go. Don't think we'll quite get a 5 million valuation, but I think we'll take the money just so we can spend it on getting a new, younger, more dynamic striker, whether that be Turgeman or Miovski or whoever it's going to be.
But like Dessers, sell him, say we get my 4.5 million back, 50 odd goals in just over 100 games, solid signing, get your money back 2 years later. Hamza Egerman as well. What do you want to see happen with Egerman? Can you see him fitting into a Russell Martin system? The boy that plays football out in the street on grass?
Egerman's a difficult one. I'm kind of, I would, if we get 15 million of an offer, I'd be inclined to take that, to be honest, if we get a decent sell on with it. So, because, if you get the sell on, we're assuming that he's going to keep improving, and he might. Well, that's what the sell on's for. If you get like a 20% above anything over 15 million, you're still making some money on it. Whether he fits into the system, doesn't seem like Russell Martin thinks so, because if he was the sort of crown jewel that we were all thinking he was turning into last season, I don't think you'd be having this sort of like lengthy standoff with is it Leo that he's looking at going to? They're sitting about 14 million, and we are kind of holding out. I don't think would be in that situation if we wanted to hold on to him desperately. So my suspicion is that Thelwell and Martin have looked at what they can get with that money. And I think a little bit like maybe like what Jack was alluding to, I think we've got players lined up in mind, and when the money comes in, we're going to just hit the button on it. So the fact that the Dessers thing has dragged on, the fact that Egerman has dragged on, and we're still dangling them out there, we're still letting it be known that they're for sale. I think probably both of them will be off. And to be honest, like I'm slightly on Mitch's side in this. Like I like Dessers. I think a guy that gets you 50 odd goals in 2 seasons. All right, he has had some howlers, but the guy he scores world class goals in a not very impressive side. What might he do in a much better side? I don't know that he fits in with Russell Martin's style of play, so that's possibly where that argument falls down. But I wouldn't be devastated to see 50 goals in 2 seasons stay in the side. And I know he drives people nuts, but some of the goal, he can score goals that are just like world class, and it's weird. He always reminds me a bit of Lorenzo Amoruso for some reason, because Big Lorenzo could be amazing, but he also does those lapses where he could be like a Division 1 defender. But Lorenzo Amoruso always went out thinking he was like the best defender in the world and could play against anyone. And Dessers, when he goes out, I always have this suspicion that, yeah, he might have a howler, or he might turn into Marco van Basten for 15 minutes. And that's quite nice to have in the side. So if he went, he'd go with best wishes. I'd be a wee bit disappointed to see him go. On Egerman, I think we want the money. I think that's why we're kind of not saying he's not for sale at any price, because I think if we get 15 million, I think he's off. And it's a wee bit of a shame because some of the stuff he's done is quite exciting, but he didn't tie down a first team place last season. He did really well. He developed well. But clearly Russell Martin thinks that he can get players for his system with the money. So I think probably both of them will be off. As for who comes in, whether it's Turgeman, Miofsky or someone else, that would be quite interesting to see who we bring in with the money.
What about Jamie Vardy, Billy?
I love Jamie Vardy. To me, just as a player, as an absolute wind-up merchant, psychologically, I think he's a Rangers player because he just, there's no way he's going to be cowed by it. He's going to revel in it, and I just like nippy wee sods like that. I think we've had too many nice guys in our teams in recent years, and Jamie Vardy's the kind of guy who if he scores at Parkhead, is running round the entire stadium, winding everybody up, assuming he's got the legs, that's the concern. He is 30. I know he got 10 goals last season, but at that age, and when players go off a cliff, they go off a cliff. We've seen it with the likes of like Alan McGregor in his final season. Jamie Vardy is still lightning quick. Pete Selby did a couple of great bits on the channel. If anyone hasn't seen those, I would recommend they go and have a look at them because he's really good value and he loves Jamie Vardy. He says he is still lightning quick in the first 5 yards, maybe not across like 30 or 40 yards. I just don't see how financially it works. Because Jamie Vardy, there's no way he couldn't get like 4 or 5 times the money somewhere else for a year or two. He's only maybe got 1 or 2 seasons left. And his lifestyle, and lifestyle is like an allusion to legal bills. His lifestyle, has probably cost him a few million in recent years. Not really his lifestyle, to be honest. I think he's a guy that I would love to see at Rangers, but I just don't, he's going to really have to want this because what would we pay him? Like tops 30, 40 grand a year for a 1 or 2 season contract. If he goes to Saudi, which apparently he doesn't want to do, but if he goes to like a European team or even a championship or Premier team in England, he's got to get like 2 or 3 times what we can pay him. So if he comes up, he really wants the Rangers experience. I just in the modern world, how often do you see people say, I've got 2 years left, I can make 2 million or I can make 10 million, I'll take the 2 million. If he does it, then I'm very impressed with why he's coming. I'll be worried about that sort of when do the legs go, when does he go off a cliff? If you're asking me Jamie Vardy as a person, 100%, he would be worth the drama. I think he would be very good value. What about yourself, Scotty? Are you kind of would you take him?
Oh, aye, 100%. I think he's got the Gallus attitude that's what's been missing up front. I think he's got leadership. I think he's got the ability and the aura to finish up that we've not had in previous seasons, if I'm being brutally honest. I think he would score goals for fun up here. Just speaking to Pete Selby for 10, 15 minutes, I was kind of sold on him. I know he's 38 and all the rest of it. I just think he's got, for that 1 year that you're going to get out of him, I think he's better than what we've already got, if that makes any sense. I think he's more clinical than Dessers. He's more robust than Danilo, and he's more polished than Igaman for me. And he's a more complete striker. But then that's just one guy's opinion. I'm probably going to get it in the comments for saying I like Jamie Vardy. That'll be coming at me next. Jack, what's your thoughts on the link of Jamie Vardy and the striking situation?
I'll make it a hat-trick. I quite like it as well. So there's a few points I'd like to make on this. First of all, I think he has the right attitude, like you mentioned. He turned down the offer to Genoa. I don't think he wants to go to Saudi. I think the only real competition we'll probably have is MLS, just for lifestyle, chances. But the fact that Russell Martin refused in his post-match interview to flat out deny it suggests there might be something in it. If we go back to another good example, Jermaine Defoe, when he came up, he was great around the training centre. He was great with Morelos. I mean, you've seen how quickly Alfie dropped off when Defoe left. He was never the same attitude-wise after Defoe left. Having a guy like that around the training centre, I know Vardy's not quite the optimum professional that Defoe is, but you don't keep playing Premier League football to 38 years of age if you've not got a good attitude, a good head on your shoulders, and a good fitness plan as well. It would be a year, but you could look to extend that if the legs don't go. And another thing that I think is underlooked is when we won 55, look at our striking options. You had Alfie, Defoe, Ruth, Itten, and you even had Greg Stewart there. We've went on 2 or 3 strikers the last few years. You need more options than that to get through a season. We're going to have Danilo. You're assuming Egerman and Dessers go. I still think you have Danilo there as your sort of backup option. You have Vardy there who can come in and out. I still think you're looking at another 2 starters there if the 2 main boys go. I think you need 4 boys up top there across the season to ensure you can have enough firepower to win a league title. We've seen that last time we won the league, and I think it's something we need again.
Jack, I'll stay with you see on the whole theory of Vardy can't play against a low block, right? Because he's always played counter-attacking when in behind. He's a very much utilises his pace really well. I look at all the chances Dessers has had in his Rangers career and what he's missed and what he's scored. And I think if Dessers can make the positions, make the runs and get into the positions within a low block, then surely a guy that's played at a higher level, no disrespect to Dessers, can do the same kind of thing.
Vardy's got a great game intelligence. I mean, that's how he came to be such a big player in England. He knows where to be. He knows when to go, when not to go. And for a guy that's kind of got this reputation of being a bit of a nutcase, his disciplinary record's actually quite good, all things considered. So I think, it'd be a great thing to have up here. I think he's not going to he's not going to start against the likes of Celtic, Aberdeen, Hibs, Hearts away. He'd be a guy who plays at Ibrox to give your main striker a rest, can score goals against your likes of your Livingstons, your Falkirks, your St Mirrens. I know they were top 6 last year, but you know what I'm trying to say. The likes of teams like that, it's a good option. And imagine, you're struggling to break down a team. You're sitting at 70 minutes. It's 1 each. You're winning by 1 goal. You take off your main striker, and these SPFL defenders see a guy with a reputation of Jamie Vardy coming on. It's the same it was with Defoe. They're but we're in for it now. So I think even that mentality thing, having a guy like that in your team does to opposition players. It's just beneficial all round. The only issue is wages, but I don't see that we're paying for him. If he comes, it'll be him wanting to be here. Even if it is for a year and then he goes off to America then. And the only other issue, as mentioned, is when the legs go, they go. But I think the fact he was in the Premier League last year shows he's not going to have dropped off to such a significant level where he's not going to be able to do at least a decent job in Scotland.
You can imagine it, but say we're away to Pittodrie on a Wednesday night in a League Cup tie or something, and it's 1 each and it's pissing a rain, and the Aberdeen fans start chanting about his misses, and then he comes off the bench and scores a last-minute winner. I want to see that celebration. I want to see that callousness. I want to see
You've seen the same thing with Defoe. I think it's the exact same situation. We were up at Aberdeen. I think it was a cup game in Gerrard's first year. Just after he signed Morelos, he must have had about 40 chances, done everything but score. Comes off, Defoe comes on and just finishes the game off. I don't know if I'm remembering that right, but I remember him scoring a late goal up at Pittodrie, coming on as a sub, and you just knew that's a guy with class. And I think Vardy would be the same.
Definitely. Well, I suppose to round up and use, there's one last link that was worth. It is worth talking about because I want to see what's going to come up in the comments. Billy, Josh Windass.
I thought you were going to say the training gear there. You've totally thrown us for a loop.
No, no training gear's coming up on us. No, I can't talk about kids.
I've got to be honest. If the option is talk about Josh Windass or Raglan sleeves and microchip light grey training tops, can we not talk about the training tops? Because no, Josh Windass for me is like a definite no. I mean, how he left is one thing. He's got this opinion of himself as a football player that's never married up to what he's achieved in his career. I mean, he's got solid stats at Sheffield. He's got 153 appearances, 43 goals. If you were actually looking at him without the previous history, you might think, yeah, maybe. But when you think about how he left, the kind of, he's got the history of shushing the fans after that win at Partick Thistle, which you just who does that? That's one of those players who basically thinks that the story's about him, and you can't have that at a club like Rangers. Yeah, he is someone who'd used the term about someone else, a bit of a weapon in both senses of the word. And I wouldn't have him back. I don't like him as a personality. I think he's all about himself. I'm not sure I see him fitting in age-wise to the profile of what we're looking at. I think it's maybe just a lazy link because we're in for a couple of Sheffield Wednesday players. They're in trouble. He's been here before, and someone needs to fill a headline. I hope to God that's what it is, because when Josh Windass broke into the team, I liked him as a player, but the more you got to see of him as a person and also how erratic he could be, the less enamoured I was. So I don't know what everyone else thinks, but for me, I'd be very keen not to have him anywhere near Ibrox.
Ryan, everything Billy just says about Josh Windass, I'm going to say the same thing about John Lundstrom. No, I don't want John Lundstrom back anywhere near Rangers or that midfield, or even Scotland. He can come and play for Hibs or something if he wants. The guy's just tore a caravan about constantly.
It was done last time he was here. Lundstrom, that is.
Awful player. Absolutely awful player, man.
But Windass, right, I'm at the age, right? So I'm 26. So Josh Windass, his first time here, was kind of my prime time watching Rangers, which is sad to say. But first year he was god awful. Second year he was actually really, really good. Considering the team he was in, he scored 16, 17 goals. But the question is, has he? There's always that maturity issue. He thought he was better than he was. That's why Gerrard let him go. Has he matured? Now, you would say yes as a player, but if anybody heard his interview on Open Goal, he's still, I don't know. He's too much his father in him. He's just not quite there. He's a typical footballer that he's good at kicking the ball. Aye, but I don't know. I mean, he's got good numbers. If, like Billy said, if you take the name out of it, he probably would go, aye, that's a no bad option on the cheap. But for me, I just think he's got that potential to be a pain in the training ground, and especially you're trying to get this old leadership group phased out. I think if you bring somebody that was part of that, not leadership group, part of that group from years past back in, it just negates everything else you're trying to do. The one thing I would ask you boys is, though, for that position, would you rather Windass or would you rather Hadji come back?
Oh,
if you had to,
I'll let you go first on that one.
Oh, that's an artificial question. That's like, would you rather step in quicksand or a bear trap? There's got to be other options out there. I mean, if you're asking me between the two, a dead heat actually, because I think Windass might be a more productive player, but there is that he's just not an influence you want. Whereas Yanis Hadji seems like a good guy in the dressing room. So I choose neither.
I'm going to go Josh Windass just for some. Just for some.
Fair point. I mean, Windass did have his moments. I mean, I know we lost the game, but he's shown he can score against Celtic.
Mm-hmm.
And he scored a lot of goals. But if you do look back to it, I think it was a hat-trick against Fraser, 2 against Ayr United. Aye. A lot of the goals were in lesser games. Other than the Celtic goal, I don't remember him scoring a big. Even that wasn't a winning goal. I don't remember him scoring a big goal, and I don't remember him scoring many winning goals. So there is that point. He was part of that mentality group for the team back then that our manager was part of, which is an issue that wasn't great. But I don't know. If the manager probably knows him from back then. If the manager trusts him, then we need to kind of back that. But if it was up to me, I'd be looking at a different option. I think you've got even Lyle Cameron coming in. It's a Scottish kind of option in that area. I don't know. I'll trust the manager, but if it was up to me, I'd be leaving the past where it belongs.
Personally, I think Lyle Cameron could be a bit of an unsung hero this season. I think there's all these links to Lennon Miller and all this hype around Lennon Miller, and I'm like, I've looked at stats and stuff that would actually be good for Doug to do a graph on in terms of comparison on Lennon Miller and Lyle Cameron. I know they're different types of players, but they're both central midfielders, and I actually think we've potentially got a better player in Lyle Cameron. Potentially a controversial statement, but I think in terms of numbers, he's more effective. And I don't really want to be hunting out Motherwell £7-9 million for a young Scottish lad that's injury prone and he's got a year left of his deal. But that's a different topic all round. Just quickly before we wrap up, boys, Billy, Robin Proper looks close. Looks as if he's away to FC20. We know he's not doing it. St George's with the group. It's no surprise, is it?
No, and I actually quite respect the fact that Proper, because I thought, given how he'd come in and been like regularly ragdolled in Scottish football, despite looking quite decent in Europe and in some of the Old Firm games, I thought he would jump at the chance to go back to the Netherlands. So I was kind of impressed that he actually said, no, I want to speak to the manager first, because it sounded like he was open to maybe fitting into Russell Martin's system and that he liked what he'd seen, and that certainly Rangers as a club and as a challenge didn't cow him. So I think that speaks well of his character, actually, that he was up for staying and digging in and trying to fight for his place. He's obviously had that conversation, and it's been made clear that he's at best not going to be a first choice starter. So I wish him well. He is one of those guys where, like, I say, I've less of a problem, weirdly, with Proper than I have with a player like Ben Davies, who I feel should have been much better for us. Like, Proper is just regularly in the wrong movie when he plays for Rangers. It's not suited to his style. He came in, he did his best. He spoke to the manager, and now he's on his way. So it's difficult to get sort of like really up or down about it. Like he seemed like a little bit of a desperation signing by Niels Koppen, like towards the end of the window last time round. So some of these work, some of these don't. I don't think on paper he looked like a big red flag when we signed him, but he's certainly defended like a big flag sometimes, like when we kind of he just like went limp in like a windy day when the kind of the elbows were flying. So happy to see him go and have a nice career in Holland, and hopefully we can use the money to get better in.
Jack, you get any closing thoughts on Robin Proper? And Andy Halliday on open goal actually all night says that he's heard that Theo Lasgard is doing really, really interesting things in training. Very similar to when I think that was Andy Halliday gave us a shout about Agaman and Malik Tillman as well. Do you think we've potentially got another gem there?
Aye, definitely. He's one that looks, even just his numbers coming up and the clips, looks a player. Do you see how he adapts to Scottish football? But he's got all the ability there. If he gets in the team, he should do well. But like all new signs, you just need to wait and see when they come in. The only one you kind of know what he's coming into is Cameron. But we'll see how the new boys. I'm quite positive about all the signings so far. Fernandez looks raw, but you can see why he's been signed for what he's got there. Proper eye. Hopefully he's no need to take weeks to pack all his stuff up and get set back up in Holland like he was here last year. But he seemed like a nice enough guy. But it was time last year. You just seen it in his face. He's like, here we go again. And the fact that he seems to have been dropped right after that horror show with him and Leon, the two of them seemed dropped, him and Leon King, after their horror show on Sunday, seems to suggest that Martin's went the two of them, boys, it's done. That was their chance. They've not taken it. And both of them would go with the best wishes for different reasons. Neither of them were really any trouble. Just didn't work out for either. I'd probably say it's more our fault on the King one. Proper, just no suited. We never done our homework, which is your fault as well. But both done, and probably the best thing for it.
Aye, definitely. Right, gents, Billy, thank you for joining me, mate.
No, it's been fun. Like, disappointing we didn't get to talk about the training gear, because it is better than the travel range, but it's still not that exciting. But anyway, for another
I like the one jumper the new boys came out on. I actually quite like the rest of it. No, but I don't know. I think we're in a minority. I like that one jumper the boys came out at half time with. I don't know.
In the training gear.
Is it the training gear, the travel gear? The new signs came out at half time. on the park with a jumper.
The
I quite like
light grey stuff. Light
I
grey.
actually
Yeah.
don't mind that. The rest of it, nah. But that was actually no bad. I didn't think. But anyway.
But
Sorry,
okay, it's been fun. Like, thanks for the Josh Windass question. That was great. That was therapy.
Right, well, quickly just before we finish up, Peter Rook, who's been pretty decent on Twitter so far this season, has tweeted out that Rangers winger Ross McCausland's a target for a number of clubs in England, Europe, and the MLS for a loan move with an option to buy. Several suitors have reached out to Rangers to make inquiries about the availability of the Northern Ireland international. So, if we're going to be bringing in a couple of wingers, that would make sense, to be honest with you. See if we could get a fee in the region of $1 to $1.5 million. That's the kind of thing you're looking for the youth academy. You're getting your development fee back wages and making a wee bit of profit. So, yes, I feel like for Ross McCausland, though, because you've been looking at training videos and he's been one of the ones that he's been trying to batter down the barn door, but I just don't think he's got the ability to match it, unfortunately. It's a shame. It's a shame.
Same with King. He's a good Rangers guy, but just no kicked on at that next level. But I wish him all the best.
That's it. Right, well, everybody, thank you for joining me on this week's episode of the Rangers News. If there's anything over the weekend, we will be back with a breakdown or breaking news or something or other. I'll try and rustle up something last minute as I normally do, but thanks you boys for joining me. If you're new to the channel and you like what you've seen, please like and subscribe. If you're on other platforms, please head on over to our YouTube and subscribe to the channel. That's where we're growing quickest. And apart from that, remember, every night is Rangers Journal night. See you later.